I guess it's an important point here. Like, why is fault finding then an important thing to discuss?
Because it is against our spiritual well-being. We're putting other people down. It's an avenue for self-aggrandizement. It feeds the false ego, the false prestige, which are all enemies of the soul, ourself. And it makes for a disharmony and discord in society. People can't harmonize, but they're always finding, discord and division. It divides people into different groups. So it's stated anywhere we look, as we just referred to, is do not criticize. You must stay away from criticism, rumor mongering, gossiping. It's all in the same category.
Right.
If you want to actually have a chance to grow spiritually.
Hi there and welcome to the Breaking Trail podcast. My name is Ruben and we are going to discuss fault finding today, namely how completely it goes against our spiritual well-being and it boosts our false ego and false prestige, not enabling us to actually experience the happiness that we need. You will meet my friend and teacher Balakhilya here as well, and this is where you can tune in to have inspiration and motivation to help you navigate life's journey. So Bhagavad Gita 16, chapter 16, verse 1-3. Purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy, and for the passion for honor, and freedom from envy and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharat, belong to godly men, endowed with divine nature. There we go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, if you got those qualities, yeah, you're not in the Kali Yuga. No, actually,
Yeah.
some people now on this planet have those qualities because there are godly people on this planet. However, it's rare. It is rare.
Yeah.
And you could see if we just had a few of those qualities, it would be very, very beneficial for ourselves and for others as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what are we going to talk about today? Fault finding, right?
Yeah, exactly. Fault finding.
See, this is Kali Yuga. We've talked about that a lot. And Kali Yuga has an influence on us. I mean, an invisible influence. It says we become victimized by Kali Yuga. In other words, that influence is so strong.
Of this
we
time
just
and age.
Almost like helpless. Yeah. Yugas are time periods, and we've talked about that in previous podcasts. And so this particular Kali Yuga is the age of quarrel, chaos, and confusion. And that's because that influence is so strong and dominant that we just are like that, And that's what a lot of people feel. I'm just like that, I just can't help it.
Yeah, exactly.
You say, don't be like that. Well, I'm just like that.
Kind of like it's automatic. That's just like the habit that it's been.
Yeah, and so that's why the religious principles, which we also talked about, previously, protect one from the influence. In other words, if we're protected from the influence, then it can't possess us, we'll say. But if we're not protected by the religious principles, then we're vulnerable and we just get taken away. So that's why we see now conflict everywhere, Yeah. It's interesting. I just saw an article today in Los Angeles. There's two National League football teams, American football, in Los Angeles. And so they had a preseason match, just kind of a preseason opener to, And last year, of course, because of the pandemic, they played their games with no fans in the crowd. But now things have opened up, and so they invited the fans. So the fans were there, and just, after the game started, this huge brawl broke out among the fans in the bleachers, guys beating each other.
Oh.
This team against this team. And that's just like Kali Yuga. Here it is. First time we've been allowed to go to a game in over a year. And
wow.
it almost begins with conflict, And it's like people are attracted to that. It says, what did you just read? Aversion to fault finding.
Yeah.
See? So if we're averse to anything, we just stay away from it. We don't want to do it. Even if there's great opportunity to find fault with somebody. And maybe, we may think, solid ground for finding fault. But a person that's averse to it just doesn't go there. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't like that. I don't feel comfortable there. I'm averse to it.
Exactly.
But most of us are attracted to fault finding. We're looking for faults. It's like a hawk looking for some prey,
Exactly.
Like, I'm just waiting for somebody to do something that I can criticize.
And then you immediately, quickly.
Yeah.
You did.
Swoop down.
Oof.
Yeah. And it starts at a very early age, I knew some teenagers, early teenagers, long ago. And, they were girls, and girls are, very prone to criticism and looking at others and whatever. They were criticizing people just walking down the street because of the clothes they wore. Look at that, wearing those, look at this. And I said, come on, guys, don't have that kind of vision, It just becomes, a disease almost. It's like a habit. You find pleasure. There's a taste in that, and you don't know those people. You got nothing to do with their life, but you're just finding some reason to criticize them. And another thing that does is builds us up. As soon as I put somebody else down, that automatically elevates me to a higher position.
Yeah.
I can look down on them.
And we think that makes us happier. That will elevate us in some way. Or
Yeah. Everybody that looks like me or thinks like me or whatever is okay, and the rest are not, But if everybody became like them, like they say, well, if they were like me, it'd be different. Then they want to become somebody else because it's too common. If everybody wore the same clothes I did, then I wouldn't want to wear those clothes anymore because I'm just like everybody else. I got to do something, a little separate, a little out of the norm, so to speak. So it's just a disease.
It's kind of trying to make it perfect, right? Well, but you will never come to that stage of everyone else being perfect and the world being perfect and everything being perfect. It's just a constant struggle to make. And once, I guess we tell ourselves that once that happens, once everything is perfect, then I'll be fine. I'll be happy. I'll have a good time because the world is perfect and the people around me are perfect, and which just never comes.
And perfection is on our terms, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they would be perfect the way I want them to be perfect.
That's true. Yeah. Right.
It's not like absolute perfection like you just read. That's absolute perfection. All those qualities are godly qualities. They're called transcendental qualities. And so that's real perfection. Cleanliness and honesty and, aversion to fault finding and freedom from fear and respecting everybody and all that. That's actual perfection. Because that's beyond the influence of the material, modes of nature. They're transcendental qualities. That means they are a result of transcendental influence. Or a godly influence. But the perfection that people are envisioning or sometimes demanding of someone else is my version of perfection.
Exactly.
I want you to be like that because I like that or whatever. Or become like me because I'm perfect.
But that's, wow, that's just because there seems to be so much discussions on what's perfection, but this makes it kind of easy. There's this verse from Bhagavad Gita. If you want to know what perfection means, you can go there and you can see, in yourself, am I moving forward towards those qualities? Am I moving forward toward real perfection or not? Where am I? How am I doing?
Well, you're in the second, third, and fourth verses. That's where we are. Envy and pride and false prestige and, lust and anger and greed. Because that's of demoniac qualities. And if we read that chapter, which is chapter 16 in Bhagavad Gita, it describes these divine qualities and then it describes the demoniac qualities. And if we had to see, well, where am I in these descriptions, I think most of us would find that we're in that demoniac category.
Right.
And that's not a good thing, but we're kind of like okay with that in all too many cases.
Yeah.
I'm okay. And I can always find justification for it.
Well, exactly. That's a big thing with fault finding, isn't it? That we find, if we see all the other faults in other people, then I don't have to look at myself. It's the other people's fault that I'm this way or that I'm unhappy or that I'm...
Right.
It's kind of...
Nobody wants to take responsibility for their own imperfections.
Exactly.
Faults. We don't want to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
We want to look at other people. What is that saying? It's a Russian saying, I think, that don't get angry at the mirror by what you see reflected. Not the mirror's fault.
And again, that's like the people, they're the mirror. They're where we're seeing in them probably and get angry probably at the faults that are maybe faults that we ourselves have, but we see them in others, and then we get angry at them for those faults. This actually,
I think that's the idea of that saying.
Because there's a biblical quote on this where Apostle Paul said something to this extent, actually. He said, you therefore have no excuse, you who pass judgment on someone else, for at whatever point you judge the others, you are condemning yourself, because you who pass judgment do the same things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And there's another quote from the Bible. It says, "Why are you worried about the splinter in your neighbor's eye when you have a log in your own eye?" Mm. But we can't see the log. All we see is the splinter. Yeah, all scriptures basically refer to the same truth. And that's the meaning of scripture. It's a work of truth. And so whether you read from the Bible or you read from, Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, etc., you're going to find basically the same thing.
Yeah.
It may be presented in a different way and et cetera, but it's the same truth because truth is true. Mm. And all the great teachers of truth teach the same thing, really. They may, again, say it in different ways or terminology at different times and circumstances and use different analogies, but it's the same message.
And I guess it's an important point here. Like, why is fault finding then an important thing to discuss? Why is it that we are, having this talk on fault finding? Like, and why is it that different literatures and like you said, many different traditions mention this? I mean, even there's a quote from Buddha that I'm going to read in a bit that he's also speaking about this. Like, why is that?
Because it is against our spiritual well-being. We're putting other people down. It's an avenue for self-aggrandizement. It feeds the false ego, the false prestige, which are all enemies of the soul, ourself. And it makes for a disharmony and discord in society. People can't harmonize, but they're always finding, discord and division. It divides people into different groups, the good guys and the bad guys, us and them kind of division. And so therefore, again, there's no harmony because all the division leads to conflict. And so therefore, there's no peace. Even in religion, look how much division there is. Look how many people with, religious affiliation criticize others with religious affiliations. We find fault with their religion. We find fault with their method of worship. We find fault with their whatever it is. Mm. In that area of life, which is supposed to be harmonizing.
Exactly.
Rather than criticizing. So it's stated anywhere we look, as we just referred to, is do not criticize. You must stay away from criticism, rumor mongering, gossiping. It's all in the same category. If you want to actually have a chance to grow spiritually, because God is not pleased. I mean, we got to go back to the original understanding that God's the supreme Father, and we're the children. So think of a father, earthly father, who has 10 kids. See, is he pleased with the kids if they're always arguing among themselves, always conflict, always belittling each other, always, finding fault with each other? And often the kids come to the father, right? He did this, he did that. And the other one comes, she did this, she did that. And the father just not pleased with that. Mm. He wants the children to get along. He wants to see the sameness, the common bond. Your brothers, your sisters, you're all my children. I want you to get along, have peaceful coexistence, not fighting and arguing and then running to me, and blaming the other person always, etc. Yeah. So if you take that to the absolute level, there's the Supreme Father, and we're the children, and he's not pleased when all we're doing is bickering and hassling, and we're not doing his will. He says, don't do this, and we do it. So again, we're in conflict with his will, and it's all because of arrogance and false pride and false prestige. So again, from the scriptures, we learn that the real devotees of God, they don't find fault. And even though there's every reason to be offended by someone's actions against them, they don't take offense. See, they're like God. God never takes offense. You can criticize God. He doesn't take offense. See? So that's where harmony is, in the saintly personalities who have these qualities that you just read. God is present because he's represented by all of these godly qualities. You see that personality, you see God, because the same qualities are there. So spiritual life is increasing our harmonious relationship with the Supreme Lord. And those activities of fault-finding and criticizing and belittling and judging and so on make that impossible. Can't do it.
Yeah.
And what happens is we run into or develop a habit or a pattern, a whole mental condition, and ultimately we'll criticize God because we're just critical by nature.
Yeah.
So ultimately it'll go till God becomes the object of our criticism.
I see what you mean.
Which is, or God's devotee.
You
see, those who are true representatives of God, those who are most dear to him, will wind up criticizing them, which is, a death sentence for our spiritual life. So
it's just kind of like the small things
it's a
that
bad
we do.
Habit.
Yeah, like the small things that we do, that translates to the bigger. And so it's kind of like this idea of starting in your kitchen first, like tidy up in your kitchen first, like in the small things, and then that will.
Yeah. Yes.
But there's another aspect perhaps that is, and again, I think that's based in society, because society is shaped like that, like everything is based on competition. And if we think that spiritual life is about competition, then... so anyway, Lao Tzu said, a sage is like water. Water is good. It nourishes all things and does not compete. Similarly, because the sage does not compete, he does not find fault in others. It's that... we don't compete. It's not a competition to, like, I'm gonna be better than you or better spiritually than you and somehow, climb above you or something. I mean, could that be also based in that societal way of always competing, like the best job and the best career and everything is competition nowadays.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, that's all part of it. We're trying to be better. Number one, it goes back to that I'm number one.
Yeah.
False identity. I'm the best. I'm the most important. I'm the center of my universe. And you should recognize that. I'm the center. You should recognize who I am. And so it's all tied together. It's all part of the same basic problem. And Kali Yuga, back to the idea of the time period now, is where this is at the forefront. This whole consciousness and is at the forefront. So this influence of Kali Yuga, basically turns us in to this. Whereas in Satya Yuga, that golden age, which is the most perfect of the 4 ages, is the mode of goodness. And so you don't find this. It's there, but it's not so prominent. And the influence is the other direction, the other, influence. Harmony, peace, tranquility, advance in spiritual life. You see, more of these godly qualities are just common among the society. And so therefore it's a different influence and a different result and different society, different atmosphere, different mentality of the people.
Yeah.
But we're in Kali Yuga. We can't, think about Satya Yuga. When it's not Satya Yuga. I mean, we can talk about it. We can glorify it. But now it's Kali Yuga.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do about that?
Exactly.
We're not, later in thousands of years later in Satya Yuga. We're now in this age of choral chaos and confusion. Are we going to be victimized by that, or are we going to take measures to actually protect ourselves from this? Mm-hmm. And so the process of Bhakti Yoga, for instance, is very specific about how to protect ourselves. And it's, number one, through association. You see, if we associate with people under the influence of Kali Yuga, that is also part of that influence. We're so influenced by our association, and so if we associate with the conflict and the fault-finding people and, get sucked up into the competitive consciousness that we must compete. Mm-hmm. And this is taught from birth, basically.
Exactly.
Then that's where we're going to go. That's how we'll develop. That's who we're going to be. I talked to a person one time. I know him quite well. And when I first met him, he came to our programs and so on, and has continued to come. He's adopted this whole philosophy. But he was so competitive and so arrogant and so proud of himself and wanted to convince you, of how special he was. And so I talked to him about it, and he has a brother. And he said, that's the way we were raised. In our family, our father taught us that we're the most special, we're the best, we're above other people, and it was just promoted. And of course, the whole thing just brought him to who he was when I met him. And he said, that was how I was supposed to be, according to the influence and education and instruction I received.
Yeah, yeah.
But of course, he heard this philosophy and he, serious enough to work on that and, much better. See, he's beginning to see it, even when because something is so deep. I mean, when you learn something from birth, that doesn't go away overnight. You just don't wake up the next morning, it's all gone. I mean, that's molded you in a certain way.
Exactly.
And so, it's not easy, but you start recognizing it, whereas before you couldn't even see it. And if anybody, said something about it, they were wrong.
You probably fault find them. Yeah, I was just gonna say, this guy, because he could have chosen to fault find you when you pointed this out, right? But
maybe he did mentally. I don't know. I don't know, but he not externally anyway.
Yeah.
But no, he began to recognize it and see it more and more. It wasn't that it all went away, but he could see when it happened. Wow, this is not good. I got to work on this.
Yeah.
So there is a way to deal with these things that can actually bring about a cure. But if I don't think I need to be cured, if I don't think I have any problem, then no chance.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like getting out of the autopilot mode or the instinct mode. You know what I mean? That it's Like you're starting to actually see the patterns that you have and the effects that it has on other people. And
yeah. I told him, I said, you're one of the hardest people to be around I've ever seen. Because, and that kind of was a shock to him because he thought he was the greatest guy to be around.
The kindest guy and the most, nice guy.
I mean, he was a nice guy, but this whole thing just made it difficult.
Yeah, I see.
But we worked on it. I mean, he worked on it. I didn't work on it, but he worked on it. And much better. But all the while, applying the process, chanting, hearing the teachings, understanding more as he goes along, just like all of us. We all have our definite work to do. Anybody says, I don't have any work to do. It's a problem in and of itself. I mean, they got a lot of work to do just on that.
That itself is showing that, you need some.
Yeah. So one of the spiritual master's duties, really, it's described in Scripture, is to make us aware of these things. Make us aware of these problems so that we can work on it. We can and try to overcome it or get better. And the proper means, of course, not just a mental adjustment, but purification of the heart, purification of the mind through transcendental sound and transcendental activity. Yeah. So what did Buddha say?
Oh, right. He said, look not at the faults of others, nor to their omissions and commissions, but rather look to your own acts, to what you have done and left undone.
Yeah. And again, doesn't that go right back to the Bible? I mean, it said, why are you worried about the splinter in your neighbor's eye when you got a log in your own? Like, look at your own self.
Yeah.
You know, or don't be angry at the mirror.
Yeah.
All that's going right back to the same truth.
It is.
It's wonderful to see how Buddha said this, Lao Tzu said this, somebody else said this, Bible says this, Bhagavad Gita says that, and it all goes back to the same message.
It's amazing, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that gives you faith in the fact that there is an absolute truth. It's not just some random thing that somebody independently thought up and stands alone. It's like from thousands of years and different thousands of years, from 5,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 1,000, whatever number of years ago, different parts of the world, different cultures, different everything, the same message.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which should give us confidence that there is an absolute truth. And if I can absorb that truth and try to change my life according to that truth, act on that truth, then that'll be the best for me. If that should hopefully produce that kind of admission.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is also one of the things that will, I guess, help you avoid fault finding, to be able to accept again, that you're not the center of the universe. Like, if you accept that there's an absolute truth, then you accept that you're just a part of something. Like, you're not the center, but there's an absolute truth to which you mold your life, to which you try to, act in a way that's positive. And if you accept the existence of a supreme person, then you act in a way that is making him happy. Like, you're not the main guy.
Yeah. And where's the harm in being kind and forgiving, and seeing the good in others? There's a saying that says the good man sees the good in all and the bad man sees the bad in all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're a good person, that means inside really, you see the good in a person.
Yeah.
You've heard the story, I'm sure, about, a king was considering his time as the king was drawing to an end. Did we talk about that?
No, but I was just thinking about it. That's so funny. I was just thinking about it, that maybe you can mention that story. Yeah.
The king was looking for one to follow him, and he wanted to pick the right person. And so he called one of his main candidates in and told him I want you to go into the kingdom and find me the best man, a good man, and bring him to me. And so, no, I think he went the other way. Go and find a bad man and bring him to me.
No,
so he sent him out, and
it went with the good.
It's a good
first.
man.
Yeah, the good.
Yeah,
first.
Good. Yeah, right, good. So the guy goes out, stays a long time, comes back, and he says, I couldn't find any good person. Every single person. Sooner or later, I could see this bad guy there. And the king said, okay, thank you. Then he went to the next candidate, and he said, I want you to go into the kingdom and find a bad person and bring him to me. And again, a long time later, he returns and said, Your Highness, I couldn't find any bad person because everybody had some good in him. I saw good in every single person. And so he said, yes, you'll be my follower. You'll be the next king. Wow. So that's how it is. The vision is the vision, There's nobody good or there's nobody bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it comes down to which reality do you want to live in? Do you want to be that, second or the first candidate? Do you want to? Yeah. Which
would you rather be? What? And it's all about how we are. I mean, all those visions have an effect of how we feel and how we experience life. There's another story that a friend of mine told me that in the old days in America, if a person was traveling from, let's say, the East Coast to the West Coast, Route 66, for instance, was one of those famous routes. And they went through every little small town. There weren't any, freeways and bypassing towns and just 4 lanes going, at breakneck speed. I mean, you saw the country. You went from first little town, second little town, third little town. And I grew up with it. That's the way it was. And so anyway, this guy was going across the country, and he broke down in a small town in his car, and he took it to the garage. And the guy said, well, yeah, sure, we can fix it, but it's going to be about 3 days, And the guy said, okay, fine, I'm in no real rush. So during that 3 days, he just walked around that small town, and he met a lot of people, ate in the restaurants and talked to a lot of people. And so when he came back to pick up his car, he said, this is one of the nicest towns I've ever been in. He said, the people here are so nice. How is it possible that it is like that? And the guy says, well, I run this gas station and mechanic shop, and a lot of people coming through here going west, and oftentimes they stop. And the question that many have is, what's the people like in this town? I'm looking for a place to relocate. And what are the people like? And I would always reply to them, well, what's it like where you come from? And the guy would say, it's not nice, and people are not very friendly, and, they're not really, nice to be around, and blah, 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 like this. That's why I'm leaving. I don't like the people. And the guy said, yeah, well, it's kind of like that here too. And that guy will go on. And another guy comes and asks that question, what's it like here? What are the people like? You blacked out again.
Yeah. Yeah, but go ahead.
And so, and I would ask them again, well, what's it like where you come from? And he goes, it's really nice. The people are really nice. They're kind, neighborly. We help each other out. Very, very friendly place. And he said, well, that's kind of the way it is here too. And that guy will stay. So it's kind of the same concept. So, like attracts like.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And what do we want to attract? Who do we want to be around? And who do we want influencing us, and so on? Would they say birds of a feather flock together?
But and again, the role of I read this just a small sentence by one of our spiritual masters. He said that the importance of introspection is completely crucial in the process of spiritual development.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the hardest thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be honest with ourselves and to really introspect and see the faults, see the dark side, see the anger and the jealousy and the envy and admit it and actually say, this is not good. I need to work on this. And even pray to the Supreme Lord, please help me to overcome this. See, I want to be free of this. So yeah, that takes a sincere person. Because if we don't look inside, we're always looking outside. And when we look outside, we see differences and we see, things to find fault in and imperfections in other people and etc. Yeah.
But one aspect that people might wonder about, I guess, is because we are, and this process is, we are mentioning quite on a regular basis, like, okay, so it's not about propping yourself up. It's about being able to be humble and be lower. But so one could think that if you see your anger and your faults and it'd almost be like a self-absorbing negative focus and a process of just, bashing yourself down and you know what I mean? That.
Well, beat yourself up kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm so bad, I'm so low, I'm so contaminated, I'm such a demon.
Yeah.
And I've seen people take that turn of events too. I've seen people go in that direction. And so that's why we have a very perfect process, which covers all these, opportunities to go in the wrong direction, these pitfalls,
yeah.
These ways to get sucked off somewhere, whether it's going up or going down, And so that is focus on the Supreme Lord. I'm not the focus. So if I'm just looking inside at myself and all, then I become a mental hypochondriac or a spiritual hypochondriac. Or, it's all about me still. It's nothing changed. It's just, I'm so great or I'm so bad.
Yeah.
But when you, put your main focus on the Supreme Lord, and as you look inside, you see what you see, you deal with it, but that's not where you live. You're always looking at devotional service to the Supreme Lord, His desire, His will. What can I do to serve Him? As imperfect as I am, He's so merciful and so kind. I have full faith in His love that He will accept even the smallest thing I can do for Him. See, like the child has full faith that the parent who loves him dearly will accept him as he is. Not that that's perfect, but he will accept him, love him, and therefore he can want to do better.
Yeah.
I want to be more pleasing.
Yeah.
So you can take these absolute concept of us in our connection with the Supreme Father and translate it back to everyday experience we've all had with our earthly father, see, or mother, or guardians or whoever may be in that position. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm still always looking at me, it's not good. See? Whether I'm comparing myself to others and putting myself above, or looking at myself introspectively and putting myself down, I'm still the guy. It's all about me.
Yeah.
I'm still self-centered.
Like, it can't end there. Like that's the beginning of the process. I mean, looking at yourself in the introspective way, but you have to, you have to go beyond that.
Well, of course, and that's what the teaching is. Go beyond that. Yes, I've got all these problems and faults, but even so, I'm going to try to please the Lord. I'm going to try to take His cure, which He has given us, that will actually make it so I can overcome these. Not I will overcome them with my willpower or my decision to be a better person, but that process which will cleanse away all these impurities. See, and that's this transcendental sound, hearing and chanting of these mantras, etc. And that's what does the work, not me. My work is to make it so I'm in contact with the cleansing agent. See, the cleansing lifestyle, the cleansing relationship.
Exactly.
See, and that's what makes the magic happen. That's the miracle. See, it's not me. It's, again, back to the source, the Supreme Lord.
Because there's a nice comparison that someone said, which is kind of like, shows us maybe a picture of how that could look. It's like we have our two ears, and through the ears we're receiving the words, the fault-finding words, and we have, we're listening. So but the ears are attached to the body, so it's kind of like a machine. So we can take our ears and we just like, we redirect it, we start walking in another direction. We take our ears away from like that focus and listening to that and taking in that, and just, taking this machine, just driving it somewhere else, having our ears follow into another place, so that they don't have to be exposed to that. Redirecting.
Aversion to fault finding, whether it's me finding fault or someone finding fault and directing it at me. Look at this. Look at that guy. You know what that guy did? And sucking me in, drawing me in. To that fault-finding consciousness.
Exactly.
No, I don't want. I'm not interested in that. I don't want to hear that. And just like you say, take the ears somewhere else.
And you're about to say it with your tongue, but then you say Goranga instead, or Haribol.
And if we're attracted to that, and most people are, then what did he do? What did they say?
Exactly.
We want to know more, but we have to know. No. But if we're actually averse at that godly quality, which is, again, very rare, we'll actually be averse to it. I don't want that. Like somebody saying, look at this stool or smell this stool. No, thanks. I'm not interested.
But it's just amazing why it is that it's so attractive, because it doesn't seem to be any reason for it to be attractive.
People like conflict in Kali Yuga, especially, because it's just that influence on us. I remember when I was in school, I think everybody would probably have a somewhat similar experience. On the playground, say in lunch break or, during the play period, it starts from early age, everybody's going along playing, there's lots of people out, all of the kids, and then two guys start fighting. And everybody on the playground runs to the fight and stands around, giant circle. And you got these two little boys in there, fighting. And people are cheering, it's like that's the thing. But if two guys are getting along peacefully and, praising each other. Nobody's interested.
No.
Don't care.
Or having a philosophical discussion or,
Yeah. Yeah. Playing nicely together. But as soon as the fight starts,
Yeah.
Just like that fight at that NFL football match in Los Angeles. I guess it was yesterday. People forgot about the football game, and everybody's watching the fight. That was more interesting than the football game.
Oh. Oh.
Because that's what we're attracted to.
But that's so we are there, we're attracted to it, and that's okay. So let's just focus our ears and our eyes and our senses on something else, and on transcendental sound, like you say. That's the way to purify us from that attractive, being attracted to that.
Yes. And if we're at that stage where we want to use our time and energy in service to the Lord, then we really don't have time for a lot of that stuff. And I've got something else to do. I don't want to do that. That's obviously against my well-being. I don't have the time. I got things to do, and so we are protected in many, many different ways by this refocusing.
Yeah,
using the human form of life for its intended purpose, as we talked about before. Yeah. So if we wanted to keep it short, I guess it's time to have a little transcendental sound in the form of kirtan.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you just briefly mentioned, as soon as we start getting sucked in, just starts, taking shelter in the mantras, Gauranga, Haribo, Nitai Gaur. I mean, really, it just takes some effort, to pull ourselves out.
What was it, a few weeks ago, or did you say it, or someone else said, like this lady who, she felt this strong anger. She had just walked into the closet and chanted on her japa beads, and she said, okay, I'm angry, I'm gonna go and chant. So she did that, and she came out after like 20 minutes, and she was
fine.
She was fine.
Yeah. No, we have to do things like that, Use our intelligence. This is intelligence. We have to use it. If we don't use it, then what? What do we have it for? So, anyway, we can go on and on. There's always something else to say. We'll use our intelligence.
Yeah, and our voices and our tongue.
Intelligence, mind, everything. Okay, sticking with the same mantra, Gauranga Haribo. Haribo Goranga,
Haribo Goranga,
Haribo Goranga, Goranga, Haribo, Haribo Goranga, Goranga,
Haribo Goranga, Goranga, Haribo,
Hare Haribo. Haribo Goranga, Goranga Haribo, Haribo Goranga, Goranga Haribo,
Haribo Goranga, Goranga Haribo, Haribo Goranga, Goranga Haribo,
Goranga Haribo. Goranga Haribo,
Goranga Haribo,
Goranga
Goranga Haribo,
Goranga.
Haribo. Goranga, Goranga.
Yeah, so, if that's stuck in your mind, you won't be finding fault so quickly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. Another little idea.
Can I have one small quote that I'll be reading. Maybe this can be like some final summary of this, because I have to read this. This is from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, text 9. A person is considered still further spiritually advanced. A person is considered still further spiritually advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral, mediators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind.
There you go. Yeah.
That's
perfect.
Perfect. Yeah. So thank you, Balakhilya.
That's perfection. You want to know what is perfection? There you go. That's perfection.
Yeah.
Such a consciousness is perfect.
So.
Can you imagine planet Earth if that was the prevailing mood?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be like it is now.
That would. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we could go on and on. There's a few things that come to mind, but we'll save it for next time.
You write them mentally down and we can, bring them up next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll forget them by then.
Oh.
It comes as the moment arises.
I see.
It pops up.
I see.
Yeah. Spontaneous reaction.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you.
Yeah.
Haribo to everybody there.
Yeah. Thank you, Slava, and everyone there. Shintamani.
Yeah.
Next week.
Okay. Next week. Haribo.
Haribo. Namaste. Right. Thank you so much for being here with us today, listening and joining us for the talk. We to the very end. We are going to end here, and please do subscribe to our email list, to YouTube, to Spotify, or wherever you're watching, wherever you want to tune in. You can also make mini donations via Patreon if you're really liking what we do and would like to help us. So see you soon, and stay true to yourself and dare to break trail.